Welcome to the Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver podcast. We're happy you're here. On the podcast, we're certain that you'll relate to the caregiver stories and find comfort with your honorary sisters. Now, before we start, I want to remind you to go to our website, confessionsofareluctantcaregiver.com, and sign up for our newsletter. It's full of useful information that you can immediately use. Now, let's learn more about today's guest. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Natalie.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
What are you doing today?
Well, I am excited because we have an amazing guest and we have been trying to catch up with her, and she is out changing the lives of other caregivers. And so she took a second, and God bless her. For those of you who don't know, we're recording at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and sweet Christina Keys is on the West Coast, and she is totally a team player, and it is 5:12 a.m. And so we are excited to have Christina Keys with us.
Yep, absolutely. And she looks beautiful. So at 5 a.m., Natalie and I do not look like this. So no. I'm just telling you, you need to get on YouTube and see Christina, because she looks fantastic for 5 a.m. She did a game it. So we have been trying to get with Christina, but I have to tell you about Christina because we got to get rolling on this, because she has this story and it's amazing, and it's going to touch. Christina, I love it because I feel like you have something for everybody. So first of all, Christina has a message. She has a mission, and she is the co-founder and president for Loving Them Forward, as well as being the director of community growth for caregiving.com. So that's who she is up front and to people. But overall, Christina, you are a caregiver. And this is what I think people are going to want to hear. You were chasing the American dream. You had a successful career. You traveled. You were financially stable. You were healthy and happy. And then your mom had a stroke. And within 3 years, you were financially, emotionally, mentally, and physically bankrupt. And you put that in your bio. You're like, I was done. The doctors told you you'd be lucky to live for 6 months. And you knew you had to make a change. And
yeah, not only was her mom sick, Christina got sick.
Well, that was it. Yeah. Christina. Yeah. The doctors told you were only going to live for 6 months. Right. And so that's what we want to hear, because you made a change. You knew that you were either going to have to take care of yourself or find someone to take care of your mom.
Right. And what she didn't put in before we go into her caregiver journey is, and she posted this on her Facebook page the other day. Oh, she knows what it is. Did you see it, Jay?
I did.
That in her 20s,
yes,
she did glamour shots. That's a whole nother podcast. And I'm going to tell you that glamour shot was everything to me. I didn't. You've got to follow Christina Keys on Facebook. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yes, I was national sales trainer for glamour shots. And so I had to take a lot of pictures and show people. And I saved everybody by not posting the feather boa one. So that's for the special folks. So yeah, maybe that'll be my new profile picture. So yeah.
So glamour shots, part of this career, you are like living it. You are doing what we all think we're supposed to be doing.
And then on March 16 happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, March 16th. Before that, everything was great. Like you guys had mentioned, I had a 20-year career in tech, and it was going well. I bought my first house by the time I was 30 as a single woman. I, accomplished a lot of goals. And, when my mom had her stroke, I was playing on 3 softball teams, working full time. I had a long-term relationship. We had a house. And I remember the day that it happened, I wanted to up my game on my health level, right? Because I'm playing on 3 softball teams, makes it easier to run the healthier you are, right? And
right.
I was at the grocery store with my personal trainer because I could afford a personal trainer back then. And we were reading labels and everything. We had the grocery cart full of crap. And I get this call in the grocery store. It's 3:42 p.m. on March 16th, 2013. I will never forget that day. And, I get the call, Mom had a stroke. She's not expected to live. I say, I got to go. And everybody's like, we just abandoned the cart. And by the time I get from the grocery store to my house, I've arranged for dog care. I've arranged for all of this stuff. I get in the house, I throw a bag of, I don't even know what was in there. I don't know, G-string and a feather, who knows what was in that suitcase. And it's pouring rain. And I got to drive, 2.5 hours up to Seattle. And I get in the car, I drive up there, and I had no idea that my life was going to change. And my mother didn't either. The day before that morning I had talked to her, and the day before she had gone to the movies with her best friend. And the week before she was my mom was a manufacturing engineer in aerospace. Wow. She had one of the highest security clearances you can have on the military side in aerospace. And, she had retired early, and she had just laid hardwood floors herself in her house like the week before. She was a badass,
Yeah,
and and so I walk in, and there's my mother, the strongest woman I know, and she's hooked up to life support. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea that I was becoming a caregiver. I had no idea that I was going to be living in a hospital for a few months out of a suitcase. And they told me she had 1% chance to live for that first 30 days. So at any second, they didn't know if she was going to live or die. And, again, I worked in tech. So here I am, working frantically, processing millions of dollars of orders in the ICU by my mother's side. And she came off life support, and we spent a lot of time in the hospital. And I think one of my favorite memories was when she was in the hospital. She was paralyzed from the neck down. She couldn't talk. And then one day I walked in, and, I talked to her anyways. And I said, "Hi, honey." And she repeated, "Hi, honey." And I was like, oh my God. And the speech therapist started teaching her how to talk with those weird stick figure, flashcards or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't working. And so here at the hospital, I get on Costco.com or something like that and order 300 pictures of our life, because I knew that the most important healing aspect of my mom's journey was going to be love, right? She was not going to remember the stick figure of the house. She was going to remember the house that we had Easters and family dinners and Christmases. And so we made flashcards out of those, and me and mom would work on those twice a day. And, she got to come home, and I remember, I was very tenacious. Every person that walked in, I would say, I have questions. And also, I would say, I'm really tired, because you don't sleep in the hospital, right? And I was going home once a week to shower, right? I would drive home once a week. I would shower. I wouldn't even have time to do my laundry. On the way back up, I would have to just stop at this one store and buy clothes, for the week, or because I was, and I would say, I'm really tired. Do you mind if I record this? So because I wanted that information, right? And so, but nobody ever said to me, look, in-home care isn't covered by insurance. Nobody ever said hey, you're going to have to learn how to become a doctor and a nurse and a specialty doctor and a physical therapist and occupational therapist in between visits. And you're going to have to do that while you're doing your full-time job also, right? Wow. And by the way, you're going to need to come up with thousands of dollars that you hadn't previously budgeted to pay for your mother's care, right? And so I'm wheeling her out of the hospital, and they give me this list of, here's some in-home care agencies and here's senior living, right? Don't even tell me what in-home care agencies do. I love Facebook memories because I documented a lot of my journey. And one of my first posts as mom was coming home was, do you know if they have such thing as I don't know, babysitters, but for adults? I didn't even know to say, do you know, what, if there's such thing as caregivers, right? And then all of a sudden I became a care manager, right? All of a sudden I had to start interviewing people. I had to start learning how to sort meds. I had to start making appointments and learning how to deal with insurance agencies. And I'm
how old were you, Christina?
I was
interrupt you.
I was in my early 40s, I think. So it happened in 2013 and I'm 54 now. So I don't know. It's way too early on the West Coast for math, but somewhere in there.
Still, you're young. I'm young. I don't really know. And that's the way a lot of us are. We have no idea.
Know. And my mom was the matriarch of the family, right? And so, she's the one who we turned to when we had tough times and what do we do? And So she gets out and, I keep her up in Seattle for a year. I cannot manage the drive back because I've got somebody full-time there. And then I've got to keep going up on the weekends. And, me and mom, when she had her stroke, we were both, my mom, obviously, that many years in aerospace, she had pretty good pension. And she had money in her 401k. I had money in my 401k. I was making good money. But literally in a year and a half between what Medicare didn't pay for, and also, the modifications, even just her to go to the bathroom in the house, building ramp, like all of these things, and a lot of people don't know that Medicare covers one piece of medical equipment every 5 years, right? You've got somebody who's paralyzed on one side, right? They're going to need a hospital bed, a walker, a wheelchair, like all of these things, right? And so I decided we had all of that stuff in a year and a half. In a year and a half, we went through over $300,000 in both of our 401ks. It was depleted in a year and a half. Everything we worked for, we went from being upper middle class to poverty level in, I would say, a year and a half, 2 years, right? And I brought her back to Vancouver, Washington, where I live, and moved her we had a house built that's, ADA and everything. And, I learned how to take care of her from there. And I also learned that I learned quickly how to do things like go to the food bank. I learned quickly how to do things like, if I don't have money, like to pay for mom's care, then I've got to go give plasma. All of the things that I had acquired over those years, like, the nice clothes and, the special things, like I didn't live paycheck to paycheck anymore. What I lived was day to day. I remember my mother would say, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's like the 25th of the month. And I'd say, like, there's 5 more days left, Mom. Anything can happen. So, even just that financial journey and learning that, I remember like the first time I had to do a GoFundMe because we couldn't afford like briefs for my mom, like, adult diapers. Right. And, the $100 a month. Right. What do we do? And so, I'm having people donate items to me that they don't want anymore. And I'm selling them at garage sales, like trying to pay for all of these things. And so I'm working at this time. Right. And I
was getting ready to ask you, Christina, let me interrupt. Because like, you're like us. We're like, there's so much. And because you've hit on so many things. How old was your mom when she had her stroke?
She was 62.
Okay. So she wasn't, had she already taken Medicare? I'd already retired formally. Cause like our dad was 58 when he passed, but he was retired, but that didn't mean he was getting Medicare.
Yeah. She was retired and she had Medicare.
So she had okay. So she had Medicare, which
she plus her supplement. Plus her supplement.
And so, and you're working, like you're talking about this and you are on a career path and then like up. And then you're working at the same time.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Yeah. We
had to.
Yeah. It was very interesting because I kept that one job that I was in for about, and just says to me like how uneducated people can be. I had that one job and I'm processing 500 orders a day and I get this call and my coworker at the same time my mother had a stroke, my coworker's husband had a stroke. Well, he had, a stroke that was like, he goes into the ER, he leaves 2 hours later, they say, cut down on drinking and smoking. Right. And he's fine. Right. He's totally fine. So I get a call from my boss like 4 months later and she says, hey, we're going to have to let you go. You seem really distracted. And I said, well, I don't understand. I said, maybe it's my mother's stroke. And she says, nope, it can't be that. And I'm like, okay. And because she was thinking the person's husband just walked out. She didn't think about like my mom's on life support, like I'm like not sleeping, like, and so I had to find another job. And it just, I was grateful for that woman, right? Because she basically, they had offered me to take some time off. And I am I am my mother's daughter, right? I am my mother's daughter. So I was like, no.
Why would I need time off? I can
gladly work on my laptop from the ER, like when I'm not sleeping. Right. And so I got another job, and, of course I did really well there. I was always like one of the top people at my company. And,
wait, did you take FMLA?
No.
Of course not.
Of course not. Because why would we take FMLA?
That means I've failed if I've got to take time. You know what?
That's right.
I have that mentality, my mother's mentality of like, no, we can do it all. And a lot of women and a lot of people think that, we can do it all. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I got another job, top 3 people in the company, doing really well, winning awards. I even won a tiara one time, which was super awesome. Right. And I'm keeping it a secret at work. My coworkers don't know because I don't want to have special treatment, and how people found out at work was, they knew I took a lot of time off because I had a lot of doctor's appointments I went to, which were moms. Right. And how people found out, because at that time I kept my Facebook really private, I had posted something about the GoFundMe and somebody had shared it. And one of my clients in New York called me up. And they were like, Christina, I need to talk to you. And he said, I saw this GoFundMe. He says, I had no idea you would never know from talking to you. You had any problems. You're the most positive person, blah, 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 blah. And he wound up calling my CEO of my company personally and saying, do you know that one of your employees is going through this? And, and it was shortly, and my managers and stuff were very compassionate. And, but like a month later, I had to call it. My mom was getting sicker. We thought she was going to die. And so I said to my bosses, I'm going to give you a month notice, because I didn't want to leave. Right. I'm going to give you a month notice. And I'm going to go take care of my mom. And then I'll be back after she passes, do the bucket list. And they're like, okay. And, they said to me, Christina, you always have a place here. And man, I remember that last day of my job, and it was in 2017, February 2017. I'd already used all my sick time and vacation time, taken mom to the hospital and doctors by February 2017 for the year. And that last day, I am literally like frantically, like I'm staying there. I was off at 5, 6 o'clock. I'm still at my desk because it was super important, to put things in Salesforce, like Larry from ABC company wears green socks. I just did not want to leave. Right. Yeah. And here comes all the CEO and all the management team. And they're like, what the hell are you doing here, Christina? I'm like, I'm just making sure I don't leave anything, and they're like, it's okay to go. Right. And I did not want to go.
That's right.
Yeah. Because the second I walked out that door, I was no longer the career woman. I was no longer Christina. I was no longer anything more than my mother's caregiver. And I didn't know how to do that. Right. That was literally the longest elevator ride of my life. I got in that elevator as Christina, the career woman, and I stepped out of that elevator as Christina, the caregiver. And it was heartbreaking because I was completely lost. Yeah. I was lost, myself, what was I going to do? And, it was really tough to make that transition, but, we started doing some of the, bucket list things. And in a couple months, mom wound up in the hospital and, the doctor said, she's going to die. This is it. They brought in the preacher, they did the little last rites. I don't know, all the stuff they do at the end, and the family's there and we're all saying goodbye. My mom says, like, hold my hand while I pass. And so I do. Everybody had left. Her and I both fall asleep. And then she wakes up. She says, I'm not done. I'm like, okay. So I had to figure out something else. This big plan of just going back to my corporate fancy job, making, 80,000 plus a year, right? Was, out of the works. And I had to find something different. And so I wound up having to take a part-time job. Remember, I'm in my 40s. I'm very well established. Right. I take a part-time job making $15 an hour as a sales and marketing manager. Right.
So where I got to ask, like, because I've changed careers, I've been downsized. Right. So where are you mentally and emotionally? Because I know what I felt when I was downsized out of the banking industry when they that was my life. That was my identity. Right. I was JJ corporate banker. I did all this. where are you? Like, where are you physically, health-wise, mentally, emotionally? Like, you took that elevator ride. What's, your mom, you thought she was going to pass. She didn't pass.
Right.
What's going on with you?
So I had insurance till the end of the month, right? I went to my very last doctor's appointment. At this time, I didn't even realize, because I think from the moment my mom had her stroke, I stopped actually looking in the mirror other than looking at my hair or whatever. Yeah. And I stopped, dressing, up except for like the top half because everything was Zoom, right? And I did not even realize I had gained 100 pounds, right? And I did not even realize, I was sleeping 5 to 10 hours a week. And wow. That was a good week, right? And I was like everything I learned from the personal trainer, being healthy, like it was just surviving, right? And so I went to my last doctor's appointment, and the doctors, did a bunch of tests, and they're like, your body is literally shutting down. You've got high blood pressure. You've got diabetes. You've gained all this weight so quickly, and you would be lucky to live 6 months. Right. And I was like, okay. And they're like, you need to change your life. And I'm like, okay. And my insurance ended at the end of the gosh darn month. Right. So how am I supposed to do? Okay. I'm just learning how to take care of my mother. I'm learning how to be a doctor, a nurse, a physical therapist, all the things I talked about. And now you're telling me I need to figure out how to save my own damn life. Right. I don't know how to do that. Right. Yeah. And I figured, but here's what I'm going to tell you, because I'm a caregiver who's really stressed out. Yeah. And what my mind told me was, I have an out. If I die, I haven't killed myself, right? Wow. If I haven't killed myself, but I have an out. It's just my body giving up. I didn't give up, right? Like that's I gave it the best I could. And there was a part of me that was like a little relieved, like, okay, I get a flipping break now, right? And I'll just try it out in the next life, right? And I realized, like, okay, if I do that, if I give up, first of all, I am my mother's daughter, and she wouldn't give up, right? Yeah. And secondly, like, who's going to take care of my mother, right? I have a brother and sister, but my brother and sister, like, listen, my brother and sister, let's just say they were not invested in mother's care as I was. Let's just say that.
I understand.
Way, yeah. Right. And so,
welcome to family dynamics. Right. And that's not abnormal. That's all. It's not abnormal.
Episodes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so, I had to figure out how to save my life and take care of my mother as well. And I didn't have money for medications or surgeries or guidance or anything. It was just like me and Facebook pretty much at the time, figuring out how to lose weight and, get better. And I didn't even learn because, again, I come from upper middle class. Like I didn't even learn for like over a year that there was actually insurance out there that I could qualify for through the state. Right. So I'm going without any doctor's appointments or anything. Right. And so I figure out how to do that slowly but surely. And I'm getting more and more like separated from Christina, like who Christina is, what I want out of life. Like, my friends are going away, my social life is completely gone. My relationship that I had been in for, I don't know, at that time, it was probably like 14 years or something like that. Like the love of my life, like that's a sinking ship. And everything about me is going away. Like I come last, right? And mom comes first, right? Because and the thing is that I don't talk about this much, but I'm gonna just say it here for one of the first times. And my mother was my abuser my whole life. My mother was the one who physically, emotionally, and mentally abused me. And I spent many, many years, and she did the best she could, right? With what she had. I spent many, many years in therapy and, self-help stuff, just trying to regain like how to have boundaries with her and how to own my own life. And then all of a sudden I become her caregiver and, there was no physical abuse anymore, but the mental abuse was still there. Right. And the emotional abuse. And it was really hard because here I was stuck in this life that like I had worked really hard to get out of. Right. But I wanted to be there. So I can't say I was stuck. I volunteered to be there. Right. And I also knew that like there were times, I'll be just 100% honest with you. And I'm sure there's like a million therapists that are going to be like, that girl should be on my books. Right. But there were times that like, the love that my mom gave me when I was her caregiver, right? Some of the things she said to me and some of the interactions we had were the interactions and the type of conversations that I had like internally begged for my whole life.
Right.
And so, nobody understood. People who knew me a really long time, because I do have friends from my childhood, nobody understood why I was taking care of my mother.
Yep.
Because of, this is a woman who had chased me around the house with a knife, tried to kill me. I mean, this was, there was some stuff that happened there. And
Christina, let me ask you a question. Is that why your siblings did also probably leaned away, just because of your childhood experiences? And what birth order are you?
I'm obviously the oldest. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm the oldest. Yes. So, I had talked to my brother and, and he said it was hard for him to see mom there. And then on different days, he was like, the stuff she did to me, I don't know, or anything. And, my sister, she did occasionally, like, every month or every couple of months, she'd get on a roll where she, 6 or 8 months at a time, she'd be religious about coming down for the weekend or whatever. And then she'd disappear. And anyways, same thing, they had mixed feelings about it, but they also had families too. They also had children. And so who knows if they would have been, and, somebody who didn't have children, if they would have stepped up.
Well, and you were kind of, go ahead, Dan.
No, go Jay.
You were kind of, because you didn't have kids, but also you were the oldest, but you were kind of the natural choice.
Right.
But my question is, was there something in there for you that said, will this make me good enough?
Absolutely. If I'm just good enough, my mom will love me. Right. Like I'm not, I'm so tired of like pretending that I didn't have emotions. I wasn't hurt growing up. I wasn't hurt as an adult. Like, this is just raw Christina 101. Like, yes, if I am just good enough, so, what happened was the times that like my mom would tell me, I'm not doing enough. I'm not giving enough. I'm not there enough. And it's like, woman, I am paying $1,500 to $3,000 a month for your care. And half the time it's because I'm sitting at a gosh darn blood bank giving blood because I can't afford to pay my own rent. I'm going to the food bank when you get to go to Costco. Like, I am here, right? And so those times that she would, give me that little bit of love, or she would reject me. I can't tell you how many times I would just leave her house and like be crying, like, I don't understand. I don't know how much more I can give, I don't know how much more I could give. And I would hate being a caregiver, and I would want to quit my job. And I would hate that I was like, wishing for a bus to hit me half the time. You know what I mean? It was not easy to go through that emotionally. And there's so much. And also, like, I didn't have a lot of friends anymore. I didn't have a lot of support anymore. I didn't know about like support groups, for a while. And so, it was a little tough. And it was definitely, there was a lot going on. I think we all know that, like, when we're caregivers, we could be the most stable person in the world. And all of a sudden, like, we learn that we have anxiety, depression, PTSD, you know what I mean? Like suicidal thoughts. Like, I mean, a lot of this stuff comes along with constantly being set up to fail, right? Like, I am doing everything I can for my mother, and she's not getting better. She's not, thriving, all of this stuff. Right. So,
and I think that's the thing, Christina, is that it's no matter what you do, if you're a child from a trauma background, like I always, I'm not a fan of certain holidays. And so, and I don't go on Facebook on certain holidays. And so if you are an individual who's had a very difficult childhood, that's my nice way of putting it. And you have a background, it's easy to say, before you go into caregiving, you really need to think about yourself. You look at yourself in the sense of what are my triggers? How am I going to be triggered by the person I'm caring for? I'm not talking about self-care. I'm talking about like, because the whole, like, it would be better if I just died, not like, because I was going to ask you, like, when your mom when they told you they were doing last rites and all the good stuff and saying you're going to die. And then she wakes up and she's like, I'm not ready again. If I were you, like, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, I'd be like relieved, but also slightly pissed. Like, well, really, yeah, like, I have been putting on doing this and you're like a hateful thing. But I love you, but I really don't want to be around you. Like, I got away from you for a reason.
Yeah, it was definitely like, I am very grateful you are alive. I'm so grateful you didn't pass, but what the hell do I do now? You know, and people don't like to talk about this, right? We don't want that person we love to pass, but we get to a point to where we just don't want to be that caregiver anymore.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But and this isn't about toxic positivity or anything, but I got to tell you, like, it was hard as hell to be a family caregiver for so many reasons, you know, not only watching my mom slowly die, but taking the abuse, the financial strain, you know, all the stuff that I went through, losing myself. It was hard as hell, but I got to tell you, it was a beautiful journey as well. And it made me stronger than I had any idea I could ever be. Like, what do you got? Bring it, because I've been a goddamn caregiver. You know what I mean? Like, I can handle it all. And I remember, like, there are moments that I will never forget with my mother. Like, when she lived at her house in Seattle, she lived in this beautiful 2-story house, and she had done all this great stuff. She just wanted to see her upstairs, right? Because her bedroom was upstairs, and here she's paralyzed, and we can't figure out. And obviously, you know, I'm now a PT and OT, and I've never been trained on that. So I got to figure crap out. Right. And she wanted to go upstairs. So I said to the caregiver, I said, get a chair up there. And I sat her down. I got her out of her wheelchair, and I sat on the first step, the second step, and I sat her in front of me on that, you know, step below me, and we scooched. It must have taken us an hour.
Oh
no shit, like an hour. We scooched up that staircase and we got to the top. And I remember we got to the top and we just held each other and we cried. You know, like, we did that, right? We did it. And that's all she wanted to do. And, you know, that is such a beautiful memory. And that's where the whole team mom started. Like, we got up there and we were crying and we're like, we got this, team mom. Like, we were a strong team, regardless of all the bullshit that was going on with the emotional dynamics and everything, but we were a strong team. And there were so many beautiful moments like that, and so many team mom moments, like, where it was us against the world. It was us against the doctors who weren't listening. It was us against the family who was leaving us to rot. You know, it was us against, like, you know, the not being able to find caregivers, or COVID, or it was us against the world so many times. It was so many times team mom, right? And those are beautiful moments. And now that she's gone, right? She died December 28th of 2022. And now that she's gone, those are the things that I remember. And those are the things that I can say, like, thank you, Mom, for teaching me more from your wheelchair than I ever learned my whole life. Right. You know,
I think you choose to remember that, Christina. And I know, you know, our journey is so hard, you know, with Mom, because she's difficult, and there's history there, but your choice, like, I hear your power and your passion. And I feel like in my heart, when you said you got to that top step, I was like, hell yeah, you made it. And that is a choice. And I think that's so hard for so many caregivers. And that's what's important, is to say, yeah, there's all kinds of crap.
Right.
But if you just take that 1 minute and you say to yourself, but I won this one victory, and I'm gonna choose that. And that's what's so beautiful about everything that you do. Like, it's just you choose that.
Hey ladies, I need to interrupt for just a second to share about the Sisterhood membership. It's basically a sale every day, and the best part, it's free. Here's the details. We're partnering with our friends at Benefit Hub and other care partners to save you money. With over 200,000 participating companies across the U.S. and abroad, you'll find discounts at your favorite local stores, huge savings on vacations, amazing deals on home, auto, and supplemental insurances, and everything in between. Go to confessionsofareluctantcaregiver.com to sign up, and then definitely tell your friends about it. They can join too. Trust me, there's a discount for everyone. And don't forget, it's free. Okay, back to confessing. I think you're so right, Jay, because I think about the experiences we had with mom, the experiences I've had with Jason, because I'm going back through and reading my journal to everybody, because we all, especially children of trauma, are constantly seeking acceptance. Mm-hmm. We all want acceptance, but we're all trying to be, but when you don't feel like you had that need met, you're constantly craving it. And so in those moments of connection, in those moments when you're able to take that, I'll leave the 23 and a half hours of really crap show and take those 30 minutes and hold them tight. And then what that does for me though, and I think this is kind of talking about it, is it builds my resilience. It builds my ability to show up the next day to say, damn it, I'm going to find the silver lining. And even if it's only for 5 minutes, like Jason being able to swallow, or him coming out from his first treatment and I'm sitting there like a total snot fest sandwich, and he comes out of the corner and I'm feeling sorry for myself. And then he smiles at me and I'm thinking, you just had your head radiated, like completely almost blown up. I mean, I'm surprised he walked out with a head. And so it's those moments where you pull it together and you build off that strength or that need that you needed. You take the need. Are you going to take the good and build off of it? Or are you going to sit in this place of this sucks? And everything I hear from you is like, I am going to grow from this.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that, and I think that's how, so with loving them forward, right? I think that's how it started, right? So I get this job making $15 an hour for a company in the senior and retirement industry. And I know how to build referral partnerships and I'm running around town and I'm realizing like in the same town that I think there's no resources and I've been doing it by myself for, 3 years or whatever, and dying slowly, like emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually, just flipping dying, right? In this town that I'm doing it all alone, I'm finding all these resources in town, right? I'm supposed to be working, right? And I am, but I'm wearing my caregiver hat too. And I'm like, oh my God, an end of life doula? What? Oh my God. Like,
what is that?
Mobile dog grooming. Oh my God. Support groups. What are you, wait a minute. Caring closet, like a place where I can go and get medical equipment for free and like,
isn't that crazy?
For free. And what? Like, I am blown away. Right. So I'm like high off of this, right? I'm like ready to go. I'm like ready to, because every time I find something new, I get to bring that home to my mom and be like, I get to go to her house and say like, Mom, I found this place. We don't have to pay for the diapers anymore. And we can get, instead of your broken wheelchair, we can get you a new wheelchair, like, it's and crazy. I didn't know this. Right. And so,
because we don't see it.
No,
we don't see it.
Nobody's talking about it.
That's right.
Listen, it made sense to me. If you were operating on my mother and keeping her in the hospital, and then you're giving her to me to take home to be the doctor and the nurse, you might know some resources to send me home with. They knew nothing. They were not referring anything. And so that's where I thought I got them from. I thought I would get them from the hospitals, from the doctors, from the specialists. No, that is not where we're going to get them from. Right. And so I found all of these resources and I started pulling together all of these experts and having these classes. Like at one point I was having 4 to 6 classes a month throughout the town that were free for family caregivers, bringing all these people, like things like before, during, and after the funeral, like downsizing, like all of these panel type trainings. Right. And And then I asked, was there a senior resource fair in town? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, there is now, and so it's a senior and family caregiver resource fair. And I started that. And then I brought those people together, and then more and more, it just grew and grew and grew. And so it was in 2019 that I said, and there was this amazing woman, she was a real estate agent, right? Which are great resources, actually. You don't have to be a great resource, but she was, and they are a great resource. And I looked at her and I said, Debbie Russell, by the way, an amazing woman. And so I looked at her and I said, Debbie, what do you think about starting a nonprofit? We have all of these people together. We've both been family caregivers. We know the need. And so we got together with her and me and, Ruth Cunningham and Laura Gazarian. And we got together and we created the name, we created everything. And we had no idea when we put that nonprofit together how well it was going to take off. And within 2 years, that nonprofit was named. I live in a town, Clark County, where it's like 500,000 residents, and was named. We won an award for like one of the top resources in town that helped seniors and family caregivers in all of Clark County, right? And not because I'm great or loving them forward's great or any of that stuff. It's because the need was so great for a hyper local focus, right?
Right.
There's like area agings, which are great, but they have a lot of resources that are statewide and nationally. There's not a lot of stuff right in the backyard. And, we got to do things like, it was awesome. I had one of those, it was November, and I don't know, I'm just going to put this out there. If you know somebody who's caring for a loved one, don't ask them what they're doing over Christmas, because it's like the worst, or Thanksgiving, right? Because my Thanksgivings were me running around, doing all of this stuff, getting everything ready. Thanksgiving, me and mom just had taco salad. The day after Thanksgiving, the family came. I had to buy everything. I had to cook everything. I had to take care of mom. Well, everybody sat there and ate, right?
I'm so glad everybody had a good time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to sit here being pissed, to be honest with you. That's my plan, is being pissed afterwards.
Yeah. Right. And Christmas sucked. And it was November. It was the first Wednesday of November, because we always have our board meetings on like the first Wednesday of the month. And I'm sitting there, I'm laying in bed. I'm having a massive caregiver headache just thinking about Christmas, like how much it's going to suck and how much I got to like make sure mom's happy when I'm like stressed and angry and dying inside. It's like, how do we make this happy, joyous, and wonderful when it's nothing but an emotional shit show, right?
Right.
Language, if you guys need to bleep that, but
it's okay. Dumpster fire.
And then, so I'm thinking, this isn't the story of Christina Keys, man. This is a story of like all these family caregivers, right? And so I get on the board meeting that day. I'm like, listen, I have a crazy idea. Now, remember, it's the first Wednesday of November. I'm like, why don't we have a caregiver Christmas? And everybody's like, well, it's the middle of pandemic, Christina. We can't have that. I'm like, okay, let's see. Drive-through. Let's do drive-through caregiver Christmas, right?
Wow.
And they're like, okay, let's do. And they agreed. I don't know. Everybody agreed. We had no idea. And we thought, we'll give out like 300 bags, and we'll do like 150 this day and 150. It's going to be a 2-day sort of thing. They're going to drive through and somehow, and they were going to be real gifts. And somehow we managed to get enough money from sponsors in that short amount of time to make gift bags that were worth like about $100, right?
Wow.
And that had real, not tchotchkes, like you weren't allowed to put company tchotchkes in it, right?
Yeah, right.
But literature, and so that first day, right. And the news people reached out to, it was just a storm of like, just all of this stuff. Right. And the first day we're setting up and we look, and it's about an hour before it's supposed to start. And there's a line of cars.
Wow.
And we, within 2 hours, all the gifts were gone. We created a 2-hour backup on the freeway. The police came. And of course, in a nonprofit, everybody's really invested and everybody wants to be in charge. But when the police came and said, who's in charge? Everybody was very happy to say, Christina Keys is in charge.
Everybody puts their finger on their nose like, not it.
Right. And I remember cop is saying to me, like, you need to have a permit for an event this size. And I like grab his arms with like the grip of death, right? Which is probably the wrong thing to do. I'm like, please help me. I have no idea what to do, right? And it's like, we're out of gifts. We're out of gifts. And
I'm not worried about the traffic. Yeah, I need some more damn gifts.
I need some hams. Can you go get me some hams?
Exactly. And he just shakes his head at me like, dear Lord, woman. And he gets in his car and he starts going down all the cars like, they're out of gifts, go home, right? And so anyways, it was a huge success for the first 2 hours, right? But I remember as one of my vendors, they called me and they said, Christina, have you seen Next Door? And I said, no, the app Next Door. And there was all of these people asking what's going on with the traffic in that area because there's never traffic. And I had put on there that they're giving away 300 gift bags for family caregivers. And there were over 100 people saying there are 300 caregivers in Clark County. No, there are not. I live in a town that there are over 500,000 residents. And in Clark County, there are 49,500 family caregivers. And in whatever town, whoever's listening, whatever town you're in, there is at least 10% of your population, if not up to 20, that are actually family caregivers. And those are people who identified family caregivers. Like me, for 3 years, I was just a daughter taking care of a mother. I didn't even know I was a caregiver, right?
Same.
Absolutely.
And so that sort of blew up and we did some better planning and we do like 1,250,
we
bags
planned.
here.
I like that, Christina. We did a little better planning.
We did. And
I love you, Christina, because you're like me with JJ. Hey guys, I have a great idea.
Right.
I have
my board does not like me to hear. Does not like
what the negative side is. But
Christina, she says that
ideas.
to me. She says, JJ, I've got an idea. And
that's how we started a podcast.
Right. Now it's like, how am I supposed to make it work? She just tosses the idea out there, and it's like, okay, well, I'll make it work. I'm the board, and she's just the president.
There you go. Exactly. Yes. So
great idea.
Yes. So my board is much like you, JJ. Okay,
I love you.
Christina has an idea,
Oh, shit.
So, right. So, now the Caregiver Christmas we have to do it at the fairgrounds. It's the only place that'll house us. It's still
I love that problem.
And and here's the super awesome thing about Caregiver Christmas. We had to create a place for caregivers to stop. Because after they went through the drive-through, because what would happen is there's all these booths line and everybody's just waving saying, we appreciate you, Merry Caregiver Christmas, right? And by the time they get to where they pick up the bag, half of them are having breakdowns and crying.
Of course.
Right. And so they've got to pull over and they were crying. So we had to implement the TLC booth, the tender loving caregiving booth, which had people who were there to give hugs, console them, have tissues. And, a lot of people like this was the only Christmas they were going to have. And, again, I'm a family caregiver. I might be running this thing. I might have headed it up, whatever. But like you think about last year, like we have this event December 6th, and we're having it again December 6th this year. So if you want to be a part of it, you just call me and let me know. But
I'm like, I'm thinking about Roanoke, and I'm like, I could do that.
So my question is, where is your Caregiver Christmas? Because I know people are like, okay, like I want to do first of all, we have to have Christina back because we're like, okay, there's so much more to the story.
I was thinking the same thing.
But now we're on Caregiver Christmas, so we're already so excited. So tell me, because you're localized, so tell me where Loving Them Forward right now is and where Caregiving Christmas, what it covers.
Right.
Vancouver, Washington, which is Clark County, Washington, and it's at the Ridgefield, the Clark County Fairgrounds. And it's an important event. Like everybody who's coming through there are caregivers, and a lot of times that's the only Christmas they're going to get.
That's right.
And if you think about like me, yes, I was, heading up the event last year, but I also my mother was on hospice. And the day before they had started comfort meds. And so for me, that was going to be the only joy I was going to get. Like I was, hugging these people and bonding with these people and, listening to the music, because that was literally, and I took one of the bags because there was a bag left over. And it's like, that was the only Christmas I was going to get, because here's what my Christmas was. My Christmas was I hadn't showered in a week. I hadn't slept in a week. My mother was laying in her bedroom dying. There was no caregivers. She was in an end-of-life coma. She hadn't talked. And my friend, like, she messaged me. She wasn't even like a really close friend at the time. She messaged me and she said, how's your day going? I'm like, it's fine. I didn't want anybody to wish me Merry Christmas because there's no decorations, nothing, right, up at the house. And she said, well, can I bring you Christmas dinner? Because everybody deserves Christmas dinner. I'm like, well, yeah. And I said, I got to figure out how to change my mom because, she's dead weight right now. And even though her body wouldn't, I mean, who cares if she gets a UTI at this point, right? You know what I mean? But it was dignity, right? She was supposed
dignity.
to have, she was supposed to be given dignity, right? And so, so she came over and she helped change my mother, and that was so kind, because that's all I wanted to do for Christmas was be able to change my mother's grief. That's all I wanted for Christmas, was be able to give my mom like a way to have some dignity as she was laying in that bed dying. And, my mother died 3 days later, and that was my Christmas. So was caregiver Christmas important to me as a caregiver? Absolutely. And there were so many out of that last year, we upped the amount of prizes, the amount of gifts, and we did 750 bags because the bags were more valuable. And that type of story was the same story for many of those people who came through there. And that was the only Christmas they were going to have. And I related to that. So,
man, you gave joy. I think the thing is people
they
talk
gave me
about
joy.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. People talk about self-care, and the reality is other care is some of the best self-care. Right. When you had the opportunity to experience, it's a shared experience. How you could relate to them and their pain and the frustrations and the all the feelings. And you're like, I get it. And if I brought you an ounce of joy, you're gifting that back to me. You're blessing my life as much as I'm blessing you. That was,
they have every single one of those people who came through, every single one of those sponsors who showed up, every single one of those people who donated money, or donated something off the Amazon wish list. Like, those people were my Christmas gift. Seeing those caregivers crying, knowing that like me and the people in the community could participate in giving them that joy. Like, I didn't have money to I didn't have, but I had a heart and I had passion. And that was, I was able to give them, and they were able to give me something that was no amount. I could not have bought, if I had millions of dollars, I could have not got and what I got from those people that were coming through. Being able to share Christmas with family caregivers, with 750 family caregivers, was epic. So there's nothing, I mean, a new car, new house, nothing could have. And it was the fuel. It was what kept me going and kept me alive during that hospice period, was that gift that they gave me, to be able to be with them. So,
well, I'm going to pause you there, because I'm going to tell you, Christina, we're going to have you back. There's so much more. And that's what I'm going to tell you. Like you've been such a blessing to me. I already know that you've been a blessing to JJ, and what you do every day, and what you, and it was what I watched on Facebook, not like a stalker inappropriately, but I watched on Facebook as you talked about courageously and just opened up the vulnerability bucket. Like, you opened up your heart and said, okay, this is what I'm going through after your mom passed. And I remember watching you, and I've watched you survive and then choose to be like, damn it, I will thrive. Right. And so that's what I want to come back to. We're going to have you come back for sure.
Because she also has another caregiving story where she's also, you take care of your ex-boyfriend. So there's,
we don't even,
so much more. We didn't get there.
Like, oh my gosh. So
we're coming back. Yeah.
So we're going to do real quick. We're going to do sister questions, because sister questions.
Okay. All right. Let's do it. By the way, Miyagi-san, did you see that? I just want, thanks for ruining my makeup.
So. Oh, you're welcome. But you know what? Okay. It was totally justified.
Yeah,
it was
sister to sister. So
love it.
Got it.
I'm just like, I had questions, and then Nellie, will you ask your question first? Because I have a bigger question. I think.
Crap. Yeah. Okay. So Christina, I normally end, but look at JJ taking the lead. El Presidente.
And the board is taking the last question.
The board is taking the last question.
Yes.
What is your favorite guilty pleasure?
Oh, my favorite guilty pleasure.
Like, what is the thing that you're like, just for me?
Like okay.
Doesn't matter. Anytime. What is your favorite guilty pleasure?
Well, I think anybody who follows my Facebook knows that it's tacos and Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa, please.
I don't know.
We're tagging him.
Let's just put it out here, like publicly, like he is my boyfriend. He has no idea who I am.
Yes.
Yeah,
I have so many of those.
We have the best relationship. We never argue because we've never talked in our life. And so,
Jason Momoa.
Like if somebody could say what would be your perfect day, I'm like Jason Momoa showing up with a plate of tacos, and I'd be in heaven. So, yeah, I'm just going to put it out there. So, yeah.
You know what? He's the kind of person that makes your teeth sweat. That's what we say in the South. He's so good looking, he'll make your teeth sweat.
Yeah,
so,
I just supposedly I just saw him in a movie, and supposedly there's a lot of other stuff going on, some cars and other people, but it was pretty much just like this whole documentary about Jason Momoa. So in my head, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna work on that because if I could put him
tacos
in
and Jason Momoa, we could do that.
Jay, if I could put him in a caregiver bag on that drive-through, and Christina picks him, and he just pops out with tacos.
Nope. Yeah,
I like it. Okay, I like it.
Jay, go ahead.
So, Natalie, I could probably get in trouble for this question.
Oh crap, I love it.
I probably am going to get in trouble for this question with Natalie, Christina. So
okay, well, I got your back.
You are like a girl. So you have touched my heart. Like you have hit me hard today. Yeah. And your passion has really touched me. And I am going to throw down a gauntlet. Natalie, are you ready?
I am so ready.
Because Natalie and I love to do crazy things. She doesn't even know I'm going to say this. She's like, oh my gosh, what's she going to do? How would you feel about partnering with us? And let's do Caregiver Christmas in Roanoke, Virginia.
Oh my God, girl.
Great flipping idea.
I can certainly help you guys pull that off. So
and it's only June.
We are planning ahead.
Listen, you have to do that. We've already paid for our spot at the fairgrounds. You have to do it that far in advance.
So are you saying we're gonna have more people than 200?
Me?
Oh God. More than 200 people show up?
Yeah. I mean, like your first year, I can't have traffic issues. So are you willing? Like, are you thinking? But the key is that you have to come and be with us.
Oh God, there's so much pressure.
Well, let's see. Well, we can figure that out.
Okay. If you're willing
I can't believe you put Christina on the spot. She's on the East Coast.
If you're willing to take on one little extra, we'll just pick your brain. But we think we could make West Coast and East Coast, and then we're going to put the next year. We're going to put everybody responsible. They go to the middle.
Well, we can plan something. I'll tell you that.
Okay. So
we'll
have you on video.
Yeah, my event is like December. We do the week before, we do the bag stuffing, and then December 5th is set up, and December 6th is the event. And then December 7th is the day I curl up in the fetal position and cry because I'm so exhausted. So you have to schedule that in, right? And so,
we may have you then on a Zoom video or something. So if you're up for it, that's my question.
Yeah, I'll do whatever.
If you are up for it,
whatever.
We would like to do it. I would like to do Loading Them Forward, Natalie, on the West on the East Coast.
Let's do an East Coast. That way we're like
East Coast.
There you go. I can help you guys plan that stuff.
All right.
So,
all right. I am too. So Christina's coming back.
Oh my gosh. We just committed ourselves to something huge.
We have just committed probably to divorce, but we're okay.
Well, that's okay. And as I think, we could talk about this later. I think you guys are involved in the movement that we're doing across the US with caregiving.com. Caregiving.com champions, and both of you are champions, right? And so I think that's something that we can certainly do together, and we can
love it.
Our first caregiver Christmas with our champions. So Mike Etzani, my CEO, if you're watching this, I apologize in advance, but I've just committed to caregiver Christmas in Roanoke, so with the champions. So
I am so excited.
It has been so fantastic. We're going to do morning calls with Christina because I'm so jazzed now. Yes. I'm like every day. So thank you. But she's coming back very soon.
Very soon.
But we're
not at 5 a.m. Hopefully we'll let her sleep till 6.
Whatever. So I love it. It's all good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for blessing us, Christina. I can't thank you enough. And thanks to everyone who is listening to this and continues to support. We support you as a caregiver and then also support your other caregivers as well. So till the next time when we confess again, can't wait for Christina to come back. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. Have a great day, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, friends, that's a wrap on this week's confession. Again, thank you so much for listening. But before you go, please take a moment to leave us a review and tell your friends about the Confessions podcast. Don't forget to visit our website to sign up for our newsletter. You'll also find the video recording of all of our episodes on the Confessions website and our YouTube channel. Don't worry, all the details are included in the show notes below. We'll see you next Tuesday when we come together to confess again. Till then, take care of you. Okay, let's talk disclaimers. You may be surprised to find out, but we are not medical professionals and are not providing any medical advice. If you have any medical questions, we recommend that you talk with a medical professional of your choice. As always, my sisters and I at Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver have taken care in selecting the speakers, but the opinions of our speakers are theirs alone. The views and opinions stated in this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting company. This podcast is copyrighted and no part can be reproduced without the expressed written consent of the Sisterhood of Care, LLC.